Good morning and welcome to the Crypt School's annual Remembrance service, 11th of November 2020. In advance, I'd like to thank all those who are contributing to today's service. Sue Wales for organisation of the event, Mr Dyer for the address, Mr Whittaker for the music, the members of the school and staff choirs, Malcolm Hannaford, parent, for his arrangement and recording of the music videos, Daniel Roderick for the reading of the Psalm 46, Daisy Allwood for reading the citation, and Lily Mountford for the playing of the last post and the reveille. Finally, Matt Sinden and Nadine Baird, head boy and head girl respectively, Dylan Rathanayaka Mudiciel Selej and Ashley Umej, the youngest boy and girl respectively, for laying the wreaths to commemorate those lives lost by former pupils of the school. Today we honour all those who made the ultimate sacrifice, to remember their achievements, their courage and their dedication, and to say thank you for those sacrifices. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote, "We will not build a peaceful world by following a negative path. It is not enough to say that we will not wage war. It is necessary to love peace and sacrifice for it. We must concentrate not merely on the negative expulsion of war, but on the positive affirmation of peace." Those we honour today have made a positive affirmation of peace. They came from all walks of life, but they shared several fundamental qualities. They possessed courage, pride, determination, selflessness, and a dedication to duty and integrity, all the qualities needed to serve a cause larger than oneself. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways in extreme times. They rose to the nation's call because they wanted to protect a nation which has given them so much. Today, as at the weekend, people throughout the country gather to remember, to honour and to pay gratitude to those who have served our country. Our gathering is just one small spark and a flame of pride that burns across the nation today and every day. It is not a lot, but it is one small way that we can honour those who made the ultimate sacrifice so that we can experience the freedoms that we experience today. We will hear the Year 13 staff and choir sing "Guide Me, O Thou Great Redeemer," followed by Daniel Roderick, a member of the student executive, reading Psalm 46. The virtual choir will then favour us with "For the Falling" by Malcolm Archer. After the choir have sung, we will be addressed by the Headmaster, Nicholas Dyer.
God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth should change, though the mountains shake in the heart of the sea, though its water roar and foam, though the mountains tremble with its tumult. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God will help her right early. The nations rage, the kingdoms totter. He utters his voice, the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. God of Jacob is our refuge. Come, behold the works of the Lord, how he has wrought desolations in the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the chariots of fire. Be still and know that I am God. I am exalted among the nations. I am exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge.
It is a great privilege to be giving this short talk to you all on Remembrance Day today. Usually we have an invited speaker into school to reflect on the meaning and importance of remembrance at our annual school service. For example, last year we were privileged to welcome into school Imam Hassan, Imam at a mosque in the city and a graduate in Islamic theology and jurisprudence, who spoke so eloquently about how all our different faith and ethnic communities in the UK today have a shared and common history of sacrifice in war to together recall on each Remembrance Day. Different nationalities, ethnicities, different religious groups were collectively involved and collectively suffered loss in our united endeavour to defeat aggression and racism in both the world wars of the 20th century. And I also spoke about that common or shared endeavour in my assembly to you yesterday. So I begin with an apology that you have to put up with a talk from me this morning about the meaning and purpose of remembrance, rather than having an opportunity to listen to someone far more learned than I am about our subject today. What can I say to you about remembrance? What salient insights can I offer? Well, I've never been caught up in a conflict, nor have I ever fought in a war. I haven't had to watch someone die or suffer serious injury due to war. Neither have I lost a loved one or a friend to war's terrible embrace. I'm not a religious scholar, able to provide a religious meaning to loss or offer spiritual guidance to the bereaved. My brother-in-law some years ago did die during a Royal Navy diving accident. Unlike many of you perhaps, I do have distant family members who did fight in the First World War. My great-grandfather and his 4 brothers fought for the Gloucestershire Regiment in the First World War, all survived, although my great-grandfather did die in 1928 of his wounds. Shrapnel left around his heart eventually found a way to end his life. He was lucky, perhaps, that he had more years than those 1 million men from across Britain and its then empire who died in the First World War, and those 500,000 more who died in World War II. Lucky, too, that he was not blinded by gas, shorn of his limbs by artillery shells, sent mad by the constant exposure to enemy fire and attack, or emotionally drowned by that nagging, clawing sense of fear. So I can only imagine really what horror war brought to those who were involved, and I can only imagine also the extent and nature of the sacrifice millions made, both on the fighting and home fronts, which enabled victory to be achieved in both 1918 and again in 1945. Of course, we don't ourselves live in an entirely peaceful and conflict-free world today. Conflicts rage around us, and people from these islands are involved in conflict zones now today, and our military are on active duty in many parts of the world, playing a key role in ensuring our safety and well-being. So although thankfully for most of us we are not ourselves directly involved in war or conflict, we can, I think, reach at least a partial understanding about the nature of war, of sacrifice, of loss, even if it hasn't laid its harsh and heavy hand upon our own shoulders. Our understanding of loss, or the sacrifice others made and indeed continue to make on our behalf through service in the military, through service to others, to making great sacrifices in their own lives in the service of others, as millions of ordinary people from our islands and throughout our Commonwealth of nations, whose collective sacrifice we remember today did, has, I think, been heightened over the past 9 months through our shared and collective experience of COVID-19 and through the sacrifices we have had, all of us, to make and indeed continue to make on each other's behalf, for each other's welfare and for our collective well-being through the ongoing COVID emergency. And throughout this current crisis, we have come to terms with loss. Loss perhaps for some here today of loved ones, but for all of us, loss of people who will remain largely unknown to us, but who share our island home, our identity as part of our national family, and whom we feel, I think, a shared sense of grief for. As in war, we look today for people to inspire and to guide us through difficult and troubling times, people to whom we can look to set an example by which we ourselves follow and can be inspired by. No one provides more fitting an inspiration and example to us all, I think, than Honorary Colonel Captain Sir Tom Moore, himself a veteran of the Second World War, and through his efforts and his startlingly calm and kind manner, he has been endeared to a nation, thankful that we have such people as he in our midst. He hasn't been the only role model for us. 100-year-old Abriel Islam Chowdhury raised more than £420,000 walking 970 laps of his garden in East London, raising money for charity at the age of 100, and received an OBE from the Queen for his efforts. As we listen to the last post shortly, we reflect on what it means. In military tradition, the last post is the bugle call that signifies the end of the day's activities. For us today in our Remembrance service, its sounding indicates that the soldier has gone to their final rest. So the last post is a sound for all those members of the military who have passed from our world and are now resting. Indeed, the sound of a lone bugler playing the last post has become one of the most distinctive sounds in the world. Eerie and evocative, it now exists, I think, beyond all the usual barriers of nation, of religion, race and class, for example, for it is charged with the memory of generations of the fallen. In the decades that followed the First World War, it became almost a sacred anthem in an increasingly secular society. And it's been played at numerous independence ceremonies for countries that fought colonisation, and at the funerals of people such as Gandhi and Nelson Mandela, for example. After our 2 minutes of silence, in which we reflect and pay thanks to all those whose lives have been touched by the terrible embrace of war, those whose lives were cut short through wars not of their own making, but whose resolve to fight for causes they saw as just defeated tyrannous ideas and regimes, and helped pave the way for a better future for those who came after. We then hear, after those 2 minutes of silence, the bugle play the Reveille. It comes from the French and essentially means wake up, and is the bugle call that awakens soldiers at dawn. In our and other remembrance services today, it marks the breaking of our silence and symbolises resurrection. As the last post symbolises death and sunset, the Reveille symbolises sunrise and resurrection. It has, then, I suggest, a hopeful, positive meaning, that our pact with the past, our agreement not to let the past, or rather those who have sacrificed themselves in the past, on behalf of those largely unknown to them, us in the present and generations yet to come, that they should not be forgotten. And that pact or agreement with the past, I think, is demonstrated in our presence here at our Crypt Remembrance service today. Our pact in particular, remember our 136 old Cryptians who gave their lives in the wars of the 20th century. So we now use this, our school remembrance service today, to pay our thanks to all who make sacrifice on behalf of others. Remember those whose lives were lost in wars and conflicts, and in particular our own 136 old Cryptians who lost their lives in war and are commemorated on the 2 memorials in the Crush Hall, where shortly our 2 youngest students in the school and our head boy and head girl will lay wreaths on behalf of our school and of the Old Cryptian Club to honour their memory and sacrifice. And we use our remembrance service today in our 2 minutes of collective school and national silence to remember what binds us here today to those who have sacrificed themselves on our behalf in the past, and those who also now sacrifice themselves for others in the present. Our remembrance service is a hopeful moment where we bring into the present the memory of people from the past who made great sacrifices on our behalf, whose memory is reawakened today, to remind us not just of the debt we owe to them, but also, more importantly, I think, to remind and inspire us to continue with their great causes, their fight for decency, for democracy and freedom, for those values that can bind us all together rather than ones that force us further apart. And we can once more be inspired through their deeds and sacrifice as we, in our present, face our own struggles and challenges. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly scarce heard amidst the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw, the torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. Thank you.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We
We will remember them.
When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow we gave our today.
Sunset and evening star, one little for me, and may there be no mourning of the heart when I put out to sea. But such a tide as moving seems asleep, too full for sun and foam, when that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again home.